Welcome to another spin class. I am very excited to have my friend Chris here with us today. Thanks for joining us, Chris.
Thank you very much, man. This is a pleasure. This is awesome,
Yes.
dude. Yeah.
I want to kick this off and say, I think everybody has one of those friends that you ask them about music, especially new music, and they come up with stuff that out of nowhere that I've never heard of. And you are that guy for me. There's a few of them in the neighborhood, but
I'm
you
sure.
for sure are that guy where I'm like, Windy Sock and the Mud Puppets or something. I'm like, what? I don't know what you're talking about. You're like, oh, dude, how do you not know them? And so I always appreciate that about you. And it's one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on the show today.
That's awesome, dude. I appreciate that. I really do. And I feel like that's been my whole entire life is finding those people,
Yeah.
right? And finding those places. And I love the discovery, right? I
Yeah.
love however it happens, whoever tells you about it, or you find something, you listen to one track and you go like, that's like a dope track. It's
Yeah.
like a great song, right?
Yeah.
Explore it a little bit more, find a little bit more out about it. And
Yeah.
then that's cool, man. I like
So how
that.
do you find it? I'm genuinely curious. I know a few things I like to do, but I'm curious to hear about
Yeah.
what you do. Because obviously you have different sources you're tapping into because I oftentimes don't know some of the stuff you're referencing.
Honestly, man, I feel like it is really like it is talking to people, you know.
Yeah.
I in the time that I was in New York City, I worked as a bartender for like 7 years, and you talk to a million people, right?
Yeah.
And you're also like kind of creating an experience there, and so it was a real like anytime someone has referenced something that I didn't know, I was the kind of kid who was like, even if it was pre Spotify or pre
Yeah.
access to it at like the drop of the hat, if I was at the
Shazam.
record store, I was like looking to like be like, oh, that dude told me about that album.
Yeah.
Like, let me like see if they have it there. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
let's look for it. And then I'd find it and look at it. Maybe ask someone in the record store about it. You know what I mean? Just
That
like,
is
what
a
do you guys?
great resource, by
Yeah,
the way.
right. Yeah,
Yes.
like ask them about it. See, like, oh yeah, other people have bought this. This is hot. I- yeah, it's funny that the way that the records I brought that my dad, I will say, like he is the influence behind so much of it.
Yeah.
And my son recently said something where he's like, yeah, you like we literally listen to music, Dad, all the time. He's like, when I get rides from other people, to my soccer game or to practice or something, he's like, they're not really like playing music like we do in the
Really?
car, like all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
And my son's like, and he has like a pre-game, pre-training, like hip hop mix that he's like put
Sure.
together, and we love it. And I'll like add stuff, and I hear it.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm sad to say. I feel like it's where we are right now with the whole algorithms and the AI stuff.
Yeah.
Is that now? If you ask me, where do I get it from? I get it from Spotify,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
they're saying you're listening to this, you might want to listen
Yeah.
to this. You're listening to this, you might like this. You might like this. And so because it's at my fingertips,
Yeah.
I just go boom. Let me
But it's
listen
right.
to it.
But they're right. I mean, the amount of stuff that I've stumbled onto from that. it's
1000%,
unbelievable.
right?
Yeah.
So it's where we are, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like we can't really I can't say that's a bad thing.
Yeah.
So, where did I learn before? We were saying this as we were sitting upstairs talking a few moments ago. My brother, my dad,
Yeah.
my friends, you
Yep.
run into people, you want to be cool like people, so you listen to stuff. So, and I even can like I could chart my formative years into high school of like when I was listening to this, when I was listening to this, and then how it all comes back around and how I
Yeah,
go,
yeah.
okay, now we're talking vinyl. I was in the store, I was in Cherry's up like a couple weeks ago, and in the used section, staring at me was Fugazi's Repeater, and I was like, I'm buying this record
Yeah,
right
yeah,
now
yeah.
because I went to Washington D.C. to like go
Sure.
see Fugazi
Yeah.
play in a club when I was in college because at one point. That was like the Beastie Boys,
Yeah,
punk,
yeah.
like sort of indie, like the edge of indie kind of connection. So Fugazi for me at one time was like they were my favorite band, right?
Yeah.
But I learned about them through my best boy's sister. That was
Yeah,
a Fugazi
yeah,
fan,
yeah.
So it's like you just learn. So I love that you say that I'm someone that's turned you on to things.
Yeah.
I know you've turned me on to things when we
Yeah.
like spun stuff,
Yeah,
and that's
yeah.
honestly at the end of the day is like that's it, right? You just listen to people,
Yeah.
talk to people about it, get their recommendations,
Yeah.
listen to it, see if you dig it.
I didn't know
You
I didn't know you had the Fugazi enthusiasm. I know I told you this when I was in a band in college. First of all, it was called Schrott, We had like these three
Did it have
huge,
like two dots on it
yeah,
over
there
it?
was
Like,
there was three huge
Schrott.
Austrian guys, and Schrott means industrial waste.
Oh,
in
okay.
Austrian.
Is it Austrian? Okay, so I was
It's
close
Austrian.
to the German
you
thing.
were
Like
right.
it was, all right, yeah.
And we played, Fugazi and Minor Threat and all
Dude,
that
this
stuff.
is exactly,
So
man. I
great,
know
yeah.
those tie-ins are
Yeah.
like. That,
Although
that's it,
there
man.
were no women at these parties, I would say like that was not something that brought girls onto the dance floor. So that was purely for our own
No,
enjoyment.
not at
but-
all. Like
but
I
it
was
great.
listening to Fugazi when I was skateboarding.
Yeah,
so
that
it was
makes
like that
sense.
was the sort of like in the car going to like where we were gonna skate. You're like jamming it on the thing. And I will say that I was so pumped to buy that album, and I like had the record in the car, and we had to drive somewhere with Finn, and I'm like, pull it up on Spotify, like let's just go listen to the album right now. And he played, and he's listening to it. Like I don't think he was as like immediately
Yeah,
into
yeah,
it.
yeah,
To your
yeah.
point,
Yeah.
of it's not for everyone. Fugazi isn't for everyone, but
Yeah,
but it is for someone.
But
for some-
it's funny you're talking about too with your kid, because that's a big part of even why I started doing this. Is I love exposing my kids to all of this different kind of music, and they've already like built their own tastes and likes, of course, which you would expect, and it's great.
Yeah.
And they even also now turn me on to stuff that I would never know.
Exactly, man. That's the beautiful. Like, so the other day, hanging with dads in the neighborhood, someone said, like, I don't really want to teach my kids about music. And I sat there and I like sat with it. Like it was in a group of people and everyone's kind of talking. And I was thinking to myself, like, I'm the 1,000% opposite of that. Like not that I want them to listen to what I tell them to listen to,
Yeah.
but I want to turn them on to music,
Yeah.
and I have.
Yeah.
To your point,
Yeah.
spent so much time. And then exactly tagging on what you said, it's like I literally sent a text to my boys in high school last night because Kendrick dropped a brand new album
Yeah.
last night, and I didn't even know he dropped the album, and I'm the one who turned my son on to Kendrick Lamar. My dad, and Finn's like, Kendrick dropped an album today, and I'm like, no. He's like, well, let's listen to it while we play FIFA right now, right? And so we like put the album on in the background while we play FIFA, and I like text my boys. I'm like, yo, y'all listen to the new Kendrick yet? I'm like, it's kind of Tupac-y a little bit, like it's 90s Tupac-y a little bit, and they wrote me back, and my one boy's like, I love that Finn's the one that told you that, like to your point,
Yeah.
And so he's got like a hip hopper from YouTube, this kid Connor Price, that at first I'm like, oh, this kid at YouTube, dude. And then I listen, I'm like, listen, dude, he's
Some
got
of those
dope
guys are
beats.
pretty good,
He can
yeah.
flow. Like I'm like, it's
Yeah.
legit. And
Yeah.
and then I tell my boys that are my age here in Chicago, and they're like, I never heard of Connor Price,
Yeah, right.
I'm like, okay, so there you go. How
But
do I find out
every
about
kid
it? It's
under
like,
16 knows who it is. Or
just
whatever
listen,
age.
right? Just
Yeah.
open your ears and
Yeah,
like
yeah.
listen, right? It's
Yeah.
taught. And my dad was the same way too. Like being the one that taught me, I then turned him on to hip hop. And as much
Yeah.
as it might annoy me when he like sends me a text and is like, "Oh, did you listen to this new album yet? Like, have you heard this new album?" And I'm like, "Yes, I've been listening to that album for like, like I'm like, yeah, dude, I know. Like that album
Yeah,
came out
yeah.
a year and a half ago.
Yeah,
you know what
yeah,
I mean?
yeah.
But I'm also like, it's cool that my dad listens to hit, like that
Yeah,
he's listening
yeah.
to like Chance's new album or
Yeah.
some Common album that dropped or something.
Yeah,
like that,
yeah,
like
yeah,
something.
yeah.
So yeah, man, that's it. That is it. That's it, right? It's
Yeah.
familial and
Yeah.
and connecting and all those things. So
Well, and I know we're going to take a little journey here of some of your dad's albums in a little bit, but, it's the same thing for me. And I've got 3 other siblings,
Right.
Fairly spaced apart age wise. And my, parents were all into music. And so I just had this huge wide range, and I love it. And people comment on it all the time about they're like, wow, that's a really eclectic, or like I'll go to the record store. They're like, these things don't go together. It's like, they do for me,
Yeah.
And that's all that matters. And it's fun.
And music to me is also like so moody, right? It's like,
Yeah,
where
yeah.
am I? What am I doing? Like, how do I want it to be the soundtrack of my life in
Yeah.
some way? Like, very truthfully, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
It's Saturday morning, going to get a coffee. It's like kind of gray outside. I'm like gonna listen to some like singer songwriter
Yep,
folky shit. You
yep,
know what I mean?
yeah.
Who was the dude that you and I said we both love? Tallest man.
Oh, Tallest Man,
Tallest
or-
man. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Like I'm
Yep.
gonna throw that on and just sort of be in that vibe a little
Yep,
bit, right?
yep.
I'm at the gym working out. Like I'll go all different directions, but of course I'm gonna like, I now know that for the next week I'm gonna bump the new Kendrick for the next,
Yeah,
because it's
yeah,
like
yeah.
got good beats, gonna, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So it's, it is like the soundtrack of a.
You also go see a lot of live shows.
I
And you
do,
go
I
to
do.
Stuff like Lala and all that stuff.
Yeah,
too. That's another.
So
you get
that's
exposed to stuff, too.
so true,
Yeah.
man. That's 1,000%. Like that's exactly it, right? It's
Yeah.
just opening up to it. I would have, before I worked that Lala gig, would have probably stereotypically said, oh, it's a certain type of music, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But you stand there for 4 days in a row, and they really do curate a whole experience for you. And every year that I worked it, I could probably name you 4 bands right now that I got turned on to from Lollapalooza that I absolutely love right now.
Yeah.
Sam Fender, Noah Khan, Odu Kale, I'm spacing Joy Oladukin,
Hmm.
Joy Oladukin. This Irish kind of pop singer songwriter Dermot Kennedy that I
Yep.
fucking love. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? I
yeah,
just love this dude.
yeah,
Like, and he even goes into like it's Euro poppy a little bit. You
yeah,
know what I
yeah,
mean? Like,
yeah,
but with like beats and techno beats behind it.
yeah,
And yet he's a singer songwriter and he's dope as hell. Like all these dudes I saw in Lollapalooza,
yeah,
and I'm like,
yeah,
and my son and my daughter are always like, you always find one band like
yeah,
every year, and then there's always that band that makes you laugh that you're like, oh yeah, they were there, or
yeah, yeah,
you
yeah,
know. So yes, lots of live music for sure. But now
yeah.
I'm getting a little crotchety with my live music stuff. I'm like, my newest thing that I say to people is that I'm not going to go to a show unless I really know like at least 5 or more songs
Oh
of the
yeah.
band. You know what I mean? Like I'm not going to pay the prices to
Yeah,
go see
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
the bands. Brand new music at a club locally in the neighborhood. If you're a local band, I'll totally go see
Yeah,
that. Like
yeah,
you know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Whatever.
yeah.
$15 at the door, I'm fine.
Yeah.
But once you start charging me $75 to $100, like I want to know like 8 of your songs. You know,
Yeah.
I'm not going to go for like one track. You know what I mean?
So I've taken a little more risk on that stuff, and
You have?
mostly it's paid off, especially on the
Okay.
live stuff.
All right.
So I don't know, even like when I was about finding music, like a lot of times what I'll do is I'll start looking at the venues and who's coming, and I'll just like listen to a couple of their songs or whatever, and I'm like, okay, I'll give it a try, and like, but sometimes it's been a real crapshoot. And I've
Good, though,
come
you
up with
feel
some.
like? So
I've
who
come
have
up,
you come up with?
I'd say the best one that I can remember that was like the most surprising that I was on the fence if I'd like it was Rubble Bucket.
I don't
Do you know
know.
him?
No.
Oh my
What kind of music?
gosh. It's like a female singer who plays an alto sax.
Oh wow.
Her like ex-boyfriend is the guitarist in the band, so there's some weird friction there.
Oh.
But it's I don't even know how to explain the music, but it's fantastic.
All right.
And I went with a couple of the guys in the black, and they were all just like, "This is amazing."
Cue
We were
that
the
up on
oldest ones
Spotify.
there.
So there you go. There
yeah,
you go.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And it was
Um,
one of those things that I saw. I listened to just a couple songs, and I saw the video, and they have this real trippy video, and I'm like, this is either going to be one of the most entertaining things, or it's going to be a total disaster. And they were like, they totally rocked it the whole time. They were amazing. They're actually, I think they're from New York. Surprised
Rubble
you haven't
Bucket.
heard
All
of
right,
them.
I'll check them.
Yeah,
Would you call them
definitely check 'em.
indie? Would you call them
Yeah,
like
definitely
indie?
indie. Yeah,
style?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
all
for
right,
sure.
cool. Yeah, nice, dude.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus, my phone's listening to me right now, so it's going to.
It's gonna
It's
start
gonna. It's
pulling
gonna.
those
At
up.
some point, Rubble Bucket's gonna end up on
Yeah,
a
for
playlist, and
sure,
I'll be like,
exactly.
"Oh, that's because we were having that
Yeah, go on a
conversation."
tour- go on a
Yeah,
tour
exactly.
with Rubble
Nice,
Bucket.
dude. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, yeah.
That's cool. That's good. Yeah, we. It was something you just said about the going with the kids and the music thing that I was gonna ask you about. I don't even know. I can't think of it.
Had it and
It's all
lost
good.
it.
Yeah, it's all good.
It
Totally
happens. That's
fine.
what happens
It
when you
does.
get to be our age.
This is true, man. I had a moment. I'm a teacher,
Mm-hmm.
and as you know, and I had a moment where I had like the Promethean board, and I'm showing something to kids, and I started looking at it, and I was like, yo, legit, like I actually can't read that small. And I've always had perfect, I know, I've always had perfect sight. And I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
okay, here we go. I'm not that old. I'm
Yeah.
about to be 44, but I'm like, this is when people say it starts,
It,
right?
it literally is.
It's like in the 40s, right? Is
I
what
remember I was at dinner with some coworkers, a couple years older than me. This was back, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago. And same thing. And they had the phone out with the light, read the menu, and I was just riding them so hard. I was
Right.
like, oh, you guys are so old, blah, blah, blah. Literally, I think the heavens opened and I got struck by lightning.
Yeah, you
because then
said
I went
something
in,
about it.
And I'm
Exactly
like,
right.
I can't read whatever the newspaper or whatever it was. And I remember going to finally my wife was like, go to the optometrist. And they pull out the little card with the things on there. And he goes, look at your phone. I said, okay. And then he pulls out this lens and puts it over my phone and goes, look at it now. And I'm like, I literally go, this is what my phone looks like.
Oh my god!
Yeah,
We
so
just get
watch
used
what
to
you
this.
say,
I
but,
know, dude.
yeah.
I know. Be careful what you say. I know.
Yeah.
Seriously, right?
The readers,
For
you
sure.
will see them sprinkled all about
There's
the
there's
house.
part of me that like kind of wants I like sort of like the cool like look cool some
Yeah,
glasses
heck
you know
yeah.
want some readers situation, but I've never been that like into myself that I would like wear fake glasses necessarily, unless it
Yeah,
was a
yeah,
costume
yeah,
or
yeah,
something
yeah.
like
Well,
that.
now you don't have to wear fake glasses.
This is why I'm
You
sort of
got a
looking forward to
legit
it. I'm like
reason.
exactly right.
Yeah, yeah,
totally.
yeah.
That's hilarious.
This comes into play when you're talking about vinyl because half
That's
of
the
writing,
writing,
on
the
here, you
writing.
can't-
Yeah, exactly. As we were gonna say, like, so you open up a record
Yeah, yeah.
and you need to be able to like actually
Yeah,
read
and
all
then you
of
go
the
like
things on the
this.
thing.
Wait a minute, what does
Yeah,
that say?
exactly. Right. You need to be able to,
exactly.
yeah.
Yes. So, well, while you're grabbing
Yeah,
your
yeah,
records, I
yeah.
am really intrigued since I brought this up to you. You were like, I've got a great idea for this. I'm going to do this in a connection with my dad and how these things are connected together. So I am in on all of this. You got the floor. Take me on the
So
journey.
we're not. So it's like, yeah, you said it, and I am definitely an idea guy. And I started thinking, and I was thinking about the records. And as we've already talked about, like I listen to every type of music. You know what I mean? I really do. But my time with records, because so I'm born in '81, so the record player's gone away. The tape player is in the house now, right? As far as like progressing through like what's happening in the world, okay? So the tape player's in the house and the tape player's in the car. So we're listening to tapes in the car a lot. Same thing I was saying about listening to music with my son, with my dad. Long drives, not long drives, 3.5 hour drives to his mom's place, Carlisle, Pennsylvania, middle PA. Lots of tapes.
Yeah, yeah.
Flipping the tapes over, just listening to music all the time. At some point I got a sound system. I got like a amp and a
Equalizer, I'm sure.
equalizer and a dual tape cassette so that I
Yeah,
could make
yeah.
mixtapes. You know what I mean?
Probably
so
a Pioneer. I would
yeah,
imagine,
right, exactly. Yeah. So, I think I was a Sony. The whole
Yeah.
thing was Sony. I was like, my dad was always like, we're a Sony family.
Oh,
like,
okay.
we have Sony televisions, and like that's our thing, right? So,
Like
so
you got
he-
a discount if you
yeah,
bought
yeah,
Sony,
exactly,
Sony,
right.
yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
like Team Sony is like, right. We're like, and so we like the whole thing was Sony, and I had the record player, and so then he had a wall. He had this room. My parents like didn't sleep in the same bedroom. He had like an office up on the 3rd floor, and he smoked cigarettes up there.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe smoked other things up there. You know what I mean? Possibly. And it was on the 3rd floor, like
Yeah.
bathroom, the whole deal.
Yeah.
He'd fall asleep up there, and he had a wall. No joke. I mean, bigger than this wall
Yeah.
here, completely full of vinyl. Like the whole thing was
Yeah,
full of
wow.
vinyl. And it had traveled with him from Eastern PA when they moved to Pittsburgh.
Which is totally convenient, by the way.
Yeah, really
Moving
easy
a
to
wall
do.
Full of
Yeah, a
vinyl,
wall full of vinyl. I know, seriously, right?
About 7 tons.
Right, exactly. No doubt. And the wall is still sitting there.
Yeah.
I'm about to go home for Thanksgiving, and like on the big checklist to help my parents eventually pare down is to deal with the wall. And one of the ways I've dealt with the wall is that every time I go home, I go and steal
Snag a few. Yeah.
5 records. You know what I mean? So like, the wall will eventually just be
Yeah,
my
yeah,
home
it'll be your
eventually,
wall
right? It'll be
eventually,
my
yeah.
wall eventually.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm like, I steal a few records. And in high school, I would just go up and I'd do the same thing. I'd like pull records down and I just listen to them in the morning. I'd listen to like a side of a record, lots of Beatles.
Yeah.
My mom shit, like lots of like Joni Mitchell and then honestly, funny enough, like greatest hits albums, you know, like
Yeah.
the greatest hits Rolling Stones, greatest hits Dylan album, you know, and so
Some people scoff at that, by the way.
I know.
I'm not.
I
I'm
know.
not one of those people.
for
I'm
sure, like the
yeah.
album purist, no doubt, absolutely.
yeah,
I
yeah.
fully understand that. I completely get that, and
I get it, but I also get the.
yeah, I get both sides of it,
yeah,
right? And I could have a conversation all about like the great albums, right?
Yeah.
The top to
Sure.
bottom listens,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
what
yeah.
I think they
Yeah.
are. Where and some people will agree on them, all this sort of thing, right? But at least it gave me a taste of all that shit,
Yeah.
right? It gave me a taste of like all of it, and then and then that's when it was like really with my dad, he would just, even with the tapes in the car going to Carlisle, he'd be like, you'd open up the little tape and pull a little piece of paper out, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
sometimes there was more information.
Yeah.
Sometimes they'd scroll out a little more, and sometimes it was just a single thing with like
Yeah.
tracks listed on
Yeah,
it, right?
yeah,
On
yeah,
whatever
yeah.
it was. And so he would just always tell me, he'd be like, yeah, like, look, read. I always read who the musicians are. I always read who's
Yeah, yeah,
playing
yeah.
with the person, right?
Yeah.
So if it was John Coltrane, he's like, who are the rest of the musicians that are
Yeah.
playing on the album? Who's the drummer?
Yeah.
We, in the neighborhood, we grew up in Pittsburgh. This all kind of ties in. I'm all over the place as
Keep
you'll
going, man.
learn.
You're on a roll.
Quincy Jones.
Yeah.
I learned about Quincy Jones just from my dad basically saying we all took drum lessons in my neighborhood in Pittsburgh from a dude who was in the Quincy Jones Orchestra.
Oh, no kidding.
And when racial issues were happening they're still happening all
Yeah,
the
yeah,
time.
yeah.
At the peak of this, like sort of civil rights movement sort of
Sure.
stuff, Quincy Jones took the orchestra to Europe.
Yeah.
People were welcomed in Europe, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Because
yeah,
they
yeah.
weren't welcomed in the United States. So he took them there, and this dude Joe Harris, you look at albums of Quincy Jones's, you'll find his name as a drummer
Yeah,
on Quincy Jones's
yeah.
shit all over it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Lived in this house in our neighborhood, taught us all drum lessons, like on
No
drum pads when we were a
kidding?
kid.
Holy
And
cow.
I used the word crotchety before. He was a crotchety man. We would have him over for dinner sometimes,
Yeah.
but my dad would always be like, he is Jekyll and Hyde. Like, you might catch Joe Harris on a day when he wants nothing to do with you, and
Yeah.
you might catch him on a day when like he wants to tell you all of the stories about being in
Yeah,
the Quincy
yeah, yeah,
Jones orchestra and all this sort of stuff, right? And so, it was like, okay, so who played on the albums, right? Who were the people that played on the albums? And then I just remember, and I remember this one album.
It's a good
Um,
tip.
Yeah, right. Bloomfield, Al Cooper, Steve Stills. And my dad's like, Mike Bloomfield's famous blues guitarist from Chicago. Al Cooper, Hammond B3 organ.
Yeah.
Pianist, right? Like
Yeah.
doing the whole thing. And then Steven Stills, I think I have that right. Steven Stills might be bass, I think maybe. Well, let's take a look.
Well, let's take a look. You need my readers, let me know.
No. Oh, okay. So I'm wrong. Oh no. So Steven Stills and Bloomfield are both guitarists.
Yeah.
Cooper is on the piano, the organ, does vocals, and then guys that there aren't even called on the album
Yeah.
are the bass players,
Yeah.
right? So then you've got a drum player and an electric piano. Barry Goldberg.
Yeah.
That dude is
Yeah.
you'll find him on
Yeah,
albums.
yeah,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? You'll find him all over things. So the three of them did this thing at some point. I mean, there's a whole again, the story
Yeah,
just here in
sure.
itself is about like
It's a whole episode.
It's like an
Yeah.
episode of like trippy nights in the recording studio, going late night. And I'm like, they don't say all of the things
Yeah,
that they
yeah,
were
yeah,
doing
yeah.
in the trippy nights on
Yeah. But you can
but
read
you
between
can,
the
yeah,
lines,
read between the lines, right? And there's like, and I'm not even a jam bandy dude, but the Season of the Witch just is such a
Yeah,
banger, dude.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
the way all the blues and the
Yeah.
lines on it and all this sort
Yeah.
of stuff and the way they sing it. And I was always like, dude, that's so dirty. Like it's just fucking dirty. It's like dirty. It's just like bluesy good.
Yeah.
And of course, they're not the ones that are teaching the blues. They've learned from all of the people,
Sure,
right?
yeah.
And Bloomfield, I'm sure, being a Chicagoan,
Yeah.
probably learned from watching the best and being informed by like the best Chicago blues guys, right?
Have you gone to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
I've never done the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Oh man, you have to go. One of the things, I've been there a couple times now, but I went recently actually with the boys. And one of the things that's so interesting is you figure out, I mean, there's always a lot of connections and people kind of like either blatantly or not so much, stealing from each other, but mostly it's an homage, but it's shocking how many things that you'll go to and listen to and be like, oh my gosh, that was Leadbelly or something. Like you start to go
Right.
back to all the old blues guys, and it's like it's the foundation of so many things that we listen to. You hear people talk about all the time.
I mean, that's the
when
thing,
you're
right?
there, you go through that history and you see so many things. And I know we're going to talk a lot about connections today. Like it really came
Well,
home
and that
to
was
me
it.
this
We just went to Nashville and we did the Country Music Hall of Fame. And
Yeah.
again, if there was any genre that I would have said my whole life growing up that I was like, yeah, but I don't listen to that
Yeah,
genre,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's probably country music,
Yeah.
Until I was introduced to Johnny Cash, right?
Yep.
And then I'm like, but I also
Last show he played in Chicago.
Oh,
That's a
nice.
picture
There
from
you go.
there. Yeah.
Exactly. This is what I'm
Yeah.
saying. And then I'm like, and then you're like, and then you go, Johnny Cash. I also like Elvis Presley. Like,
Yeah.
didn't realize that there were all these things. Elvis's tie into the soul and
Yeah,
then the country,
gospel
and
a
you
little
go in
bit.
both
Yep.
ways, right?
Yep.
Exactly. And all the things you're talking about, right?
Yep.
So you go to that place, it's the same journey, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe I don't like Reba McEntire,
Yeah.
and I still probably don't like Reba McEntire, And I don't hate on
Is
her.
that
I
who
just
you're
am
going to
not-
ask to be on the show now?
yeah, exactly. Yes. Oh, see, I should have. That.
We'll see. Think
yeah,
about it.
yeah.
Think about it. Yeah.
And I know I was thinking like a
Reba,
joke.
we love you. Yeah, don't take what he's
I
saying.
was thinking
now.
a joke earlier. Being that I'm from Pittsburgh, is that you said the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? I was gonna say I mostly haven't been there because it's in Cleveland.
Oh, yeah,
And when
yeah,
I was,
yeah.
Cleveland and Pittsburgh
Yeah,
have the
button heads.
great divide. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's not the reason I haven't been.
That's
there.
like
I need to go. there.
That's
I
like
need
an
to go there.
island. That's like
I know. I need to
uncharted
go.
territory.
It's
You oughta be able
wild.
to
Is
go.
that I remember when it opened.
Yeah.
You remember when it opened. Like I remember as a kid, we were sitting here thinking, I was like, MTV Music Awards, right?
Yeah,
MTV,
yeah.
MTV New. What do they call the news? It was like
Oh, I
Kurt
forget.
Loder on
Well,
whatever
yeah, I
it was,
remember
right?
that, but
That
yeah.
like that little segment on
Yeah.
MTV. That's where I learned about. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? That's
yeah,
where
yeah.
you learned about the stuff too. It was
Yeah.
like all those things. And I remember when the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame opened. And now what's probably been open 30 years,
I
right?
was going
Or
to say, I
35
think,
years
I think
or
it's
something,
about 30
right?
years. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
long overdue. I need to go see that place.
It's
for sure.
really,
Yeah,
I
long
mean,
overdue.
especially
Yeah.
for somebody like you, who's such a music buff.
Yeah, no, I want to go.
And then they have a rotating exhibit there. And I remember one time I was there, it was all about Jim Morrison and the Doors. It was incredible. There was like letters that he had, that I guess that his father had written. They sent him to like a military school, because he was acting up, to say the least.
yeah.
So they had these letters like from his dad that said, our son James needs direction and we hope that you can help him and all this stuff. And like it's the handwritten letters are there in the museum.
Oh,
It was
dude, that's the
incredible.
bomb. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It's like, in the country music, a big Jason Isbell fan,
Yeah.
and If We're Vampires is one of these songs that I'm
Yeah.
just crushes me, breaks my heart. And him writing the lyrics for the first time is on a piece of paper.
Oh,
there,
yes,
those
that's
things are
really
like
cool.
the coolest things,
Yeah.
man. It's
Did
awesome.
you go to Johnny Cash Museum while you were there?
You know what? We went into that. We went into the Johnny Cash Museum. We didn't tour the Johnny
Yeah,
Cash
yeah.
Museum. We were
It's
kind of
cool.
had like a it looked
Yeah,
really cool.
yeah.
We actually I bought
not
a
huge.
I bought a Cash for President koozie for my beers. I was
There
like
you
I'm gonna
go.
buy. I was like this is what I need for my beer. And the thing is, it was one of the few things I took home from Nashville or whatever. Whatever
Nice.
but you were the Doors thing. It's funny. Like that's the thing, right? So that's all the album stuff. Is that also I was an actor. I am an actor. I'm currently not really like working toward it or anything, but that's what I went to school for. That's what I worked in professionally for like 15 years. And I also just adored actors in movies. And that Doors movie, that Oliver Stone
Val
movie,
Kilmer.
right?
Val Kilmer,
Val
so
Kilmer and
good.
like the whole story
Yeah.
and just the Doors. And today, this morning at Ritual, when I was getting my coffee,
Yeah.
they were playing the Doors on
Oh,
the
no
vinyl this
kidding.
morning. So I love that you
See?
like
The connection is
it's
there.
all, dude. It's
Yeah.
all that's the
Yeah.
thing. And it's like, and sometimes I'll walk in, I'll go, dude, I haven't listened to the Doors probably in like
Yeah.
15. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Aside from it being on in a bar somewhere,
And
but
now
like
it's come
I haven't
up a few
purposely
times.
like
Yeah.
like put it, or
Yeah.
played it on my Spotify or something like that.
Yeah,
And yet,
yeah.
come on, dude, the Doors, they're
Yeah.
dope. Like you can't,
Yeah.
you just can't beat it. It's exactly. So that's it, man. That's what music is for me. That's
Yeah.
totally what it is.
Yeah.
And that's why I keep just trying to find new shit, just stay inspired.
Yeah.
I would say that honestly, my newest thing these days are, and this ties into the Dylan stuff a little bit, is like I've always been, and to me being an actor, is the stories, right?
Yeah.
And the storyteller and the
Yeah,
writing
yeah.
and the lyrics. And so for me, Isbell like just crushes it. I listen to him, I'm like, you're a fucking poet and the music's beautiful,
Yeah.
and the way you write it. And that's my thing with Dylan too, is that, and I keep referencing, I don't know if we
Yeah,
need to
yeah.
put these
Let's
on camera.
let's roll. Yeah. Yeah, you can
so,
do that.
So yeah, we had this one, we were talking,
Yep.
Bloomfield, Cooper, Stills. And then I was looking at, of course, because I was thinking about really reading who the people are on the album, really reading the albums, looking at what's the story that they're telling with that like piece of art, like with this piece of artwork, which it truly is a piece of artwork, the music, the whole thing, the whole process of it.
Yeah.
They go, what's the story they're telling with that? And to my dad's point, they're all connected. So then I go, oh shit, I didn't realize that Cooper played on Like a Rolling Stone and Mike Bloomfield played on Like a Rolling Stone. And for Bob Dylan, I know that Like a Rolling Stone is the turning point, I'm going from civil rights, folky, Newport Folk Festival to fuck you, Newport Folk Festival. I'm gonna go full Fugazi on your ass. No one's ever heard this.
Yeah.
We're gonna plug the thing in. We're gonna amp it up. Where
Yep.
it's gonna be distorted.
Yep.
And I'm gonna change. Don't even think you know who I am because I'm the most enigmatic. I don't know if enigmatic motherfucker is like kind of who he is a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And he's just gonna go, I'm gonna turn the tail on you completely,
Yeah. Yeah.
And with these dudes jamming. And then I think I made the connection, and again, to the live music point, like to how I've become like I don't need to see Dylan at this point. I've seen him like 4 times and I didn't even really see him, I'm only 44, so I didn't really see him like in the heyday, right?
Right.
But I saw some good Dylan shows and I saw a couple crap Dylan shows. And the one thing that was always true across the board with Dylan was that the band was smoking. The last time I saw him in New York City, Dylan sounded like garbage, but his band and the performance and the whole act was on point. And I remember telling my dad, I'm like, dude, his band is good. And this was at a point my dad was still going to concerts as well. And he said that he had seen the same tour or something, or like a couple years before or something. He's like, yeah, they're fucking awesome. And I think then we just started talking about it one night and the band, he's like, the band was Dylan's band. And I'm like, I guess I don't think I really knew that. Like, I don't think I really made that connection to it or whatever. I hadn't read enough about it or something.
Yeah.
And had that aha moment. And then that's what just kind of brought me back to like the tie-in of like, look and see who the people are. And I think the people are in those things that you meet someone, you want to work with someone, and it's the same thing in hip hop too, right? Like a producer, a DJ, start to look at those albums, start to look at, who did the beats for Common here and who did the beats here. And I think about DJ Premier, love Gangstar, right? And Premier and Guru are Gangstar, right?
Yeah.
But then you can hear Premier on any track. And one of the most, I'm trying to think what one of the most recent tracks were that I was listening to. I'm like, that's awesome, dude. That's DJ Premier. Like with someone right now, like he's in his 60s and it's got the same, just like sort of like sound to it, right? And yet it's like a young dude like rapping over a Primo. And I'm like, why is the song so good? Because DJ Premier dropped the beat on it. You know what I mean? That's why the lyricist is really good and he's got good flow.
Yeah.
but you're like vibing to it because
Yeah,
this like
yeah.
dope ass beat. So
Yeah.
that's it. I don't even know that we need to like roll all in, you know.
Come on, let's go through them. Let's go through 'em.
Well, no, so I think I've already kind of talked about it. So that's, this is music from Big Pink. I always thought this was a cool story, and you can see Big Pink if you flip it over. Actually, it's dope on the back. Music from Big Pink.
Yep.
So Big Pink doesn't look like a house, anything that you're like going crazy about. Upstate New York, what it basically means is it's like probably it's Woodstock, okay, is where it is. So it's, and then there's the Woodstock Music Festival. So,
Yep.
You talk about tie-ins to like Lollapalooza and how it all began and all this sort of shit. They wanted to get out of the limelight. They wanted to go to a place where they could just do their own thing and raise kids and like play music and all this kind of stuff. And there's an amazing album from that place recorded live in Big Pink.
I had the recording studio.
This is obviously recorded in their home in Big Pink.
Yeah.
If it was their home or if it was the place that they were recording, I don't actually know that whole deal. But the Basement Tapes, Dylan and the band, the Basement Tapes. So it's like they went off and they were the band, but he was living up there also, and they were still homies.
Yeah.
So then they did this recording session, and it's just so raw that you can just tell they're sitting in a room, they've got accordions, they've got Hammond B3 organs, they've got electric guitars, they've got acoustic guitars, they've like the dopest shit, you know what I mean? They have the dopest shit, and they're just going for it, And Dylan is like, for me as a poet, he flows just as hard as KRS-One does, or just as hard as, you can hear him just roll off some rhymes, And so, and then my favorite Dylan album is Blood on the Tracks, right? And partially just the story. I talked about this a little bit upstairs. I said, I was like, it's not like I'm like putting anything out there. My parents are still married. They're still happily married. They love each other. But when I was a kid, they had even when I was a little kid, like my parents were split for a little while. My dad lived separately from my mom for a short time, and then they got back together. And my whole life, I would always just be like, yo, you guys really should like probably not be together. And they're still together, and they still love each other so hard. And it's like, at this point, they should not be together. They need each other now,
They've
right?
gotten through
They've gotten through
tough stuff,
the tough part of it. But I think there's part of it, like I've always been drawn to those kind of like breakup albums, like when I broke up, like all that sort of stuff. And for Dylan, this is a time in his life that he had a family, they had kids, they were upstate, and I think he cheated on I don't know the story, who knows? But I think he like cheated on his wife maybe, and eventually there was turmoil, and you can just hear it in the album. Man. You can just hear it in like every single one of the songs. And then, so this for me is one of those albums like we were talking about.
Yep.
That is a top to bottom to me.
Yeah.
Every track on it. I'm not going to say it's the best 10 top to bottom, but it's Dylan's
No,
album.
I love that when there's an album like that.
It's top to bottom. Like I'm not, and a little bit to the whole record versus Spotify deal. With the records, you want to be able to listen to it the whole way through. You want to just put it on, let it ride, come back and play another, listen to it. And so, the Dylan album. And then I think I brought
classic.
So this is a greatest hits, but it's from a certain time period. Greatest hits. It's 64 to 71, right? And we're talking, I mean, all the best, the bangers. Time Is on My Side, Get Off of My Cloud, Under My Thumb, Ruby Tuesday, Jumpin' Jack Flash, Street Fighting Man, Sympathy for a Devil, right? Honky Tonk Woman, Total Country, like Total Country vibe on that thing. Gimme Shelters.
I mean, in general, I feel like they've got a
country
almost like
rock
a
vibe,
Delta
right?
blues type of vibe.
And same with Dylan, man, like the country thing. He did an album, Nashville Skyline, that is awesome, and he purposely tried to change his voice because people were like hating on it, and he used like mics to change his voice, and he went to Nashville and recorded it. And when we were in Nashville, we sat in the recording studio that he recorded in, the Studio B spot. You get the chills inside that place, the way they talk about the people that were in there. You just think about the ghosts in a positive way, or whatever you think of ghosts. But that like
the aura is still
the
there,
aura,
right?
man, like literally chills inside that place. And I was like, that was fucking awesome, right? I know Dylan was here, but I know Isbell was in here, but I know Elvis was in here, and I know Dolly Parton was in here, and like, it just goes and goes.
That's amazing.
And then their whole story at Studio B are about the people who play on the albums. The guys that were playing piano with Elvis, the guys that were the guitar players.
And some of those guys, that's it. They're studio guys. That's
studio
all they
guys,
do,
right?
But they're like on tons of albums. And I mean, I know there's some documentaries out about that. now
Yeah,
as well.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
exactly. That's it, dude. That's the whole
yeah,
thing. And so then the last album, talk about another recording studio, Stax.
yeah,
Bam,
yeah,
right? Soul, blues,
yep,
Otis Redding, and the Hammond B3 organ. We're talking Green Onions, Booker T and the
yeah,
MGs.
yeah,
That's when
yeah,
I learned
yeah.
about the Hammond
Yep,
B3 organ. It was
yep,
Booker T and the MGs,
yep.
right? And him jamming on the Hammond. There's the dope Christmas song that they do that's all Hammond
Yeah,
B3.
yeah, yeah.
Booker T and the MGs just crushing it. And and Otis to me, like, and
Yeah,
Otis is another one.
fantastic.
Like, I mean, come
Yeah,
on, dude, the
yeah,
voice and
yeah,
all the and like all the things. So, you listen to it and like, yeah, heartbreaking songs, but just crooning and the
yeah,
sound and the
yeah,
soul. And I remember my dad had a Stax as we move along, tapes, then CDs, and he had a Stax box set.
yeah.
And there was like a killer song on there that uh barbecue, it might be barbecue, I can't even think it is. I still try and find it sometimes in the summer because I want to put it on like summer playlists of
Yeah.
mine, and it's just a banger, and it's just
Yeah.
Stax, and it's the whole thing. So it's, yeah, man. So, and that's a place I want to go to is Stax.
Yeah.
Now that I've been to like Studio B, I'm like, oh, I want to go to some of these other
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
famous ones,
Yeah.
and yeah, you look at all of it, and it all ties in. And then you think about Chicago, you think about good DJs, you think about, as crazy as Kanye is, there's a great song called Otis
Yep.
that Kanye loops, like a great Otis track,
Yep,
and it's
yep.
on that Jay-Z Kanye thing.
Yeah.
And loops it in, and oh my God, dude, the mix of like soul and then dropping
Yep.
the beat in on it,
Yep.
and then rapping on top of the soul. It's like,
I mean,
it
he's a
doesn't-
master at that.
Dude, it's a master.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
but
yeah.
like he learned from the best. He
Sure.
learned from the other guys. He learned from the guy stealing from James Brown early
Yeah,
on in the
yeah,
Parks
yeah.
and Bronx. So
Yeah.
I like the stories behind all of it. I like all that.
So, what about of these albums? Is there one in particular that connects you to your dad? Would you say?
They all do, man. I mean, I got Dylan from my dad. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So
yeah.
so really, yeah. Sure. I'll go with this one. Blood on the Tracks. Honestly, I didn't bring over the Dylan. The Greatest Hits. I used to play that album all the time,
Yeah.
and I still put it on sometimes at home. And there's that thing with music. I think when it's a good song, that you can't deny it, right?
Yeah.
Like you just
Yeah.
can't deny it if it's a good song. And I
Yeah.
think when people listen,
No matter what the genre.
no matter
is
what
or
the
whatever.
genre
Yeah,
is,
yeah.
right? No matter what you
Right.
think about it, you can't deny it. I mean, you can hate on people and all those sorts of things, but like, my daughter will play some Taylor Swift, and there's some Taylor Swift songs, and I'm like, that's a great song, dude. I love
Yeah.
that song. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's great. It's fantastic. And she has a lot of it, and I don't purport to know all of her music, so that there's that, right? And so, but like with Dylan, my thing is when that album's on, I feel like the more I play it, I'll have a kid that'll come in and go like, is this Dylan? Is that Dylan you're listening? Like
Yeah,
they're sort of
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
they know, or they'll go like, oh yeah, like he's good actually, like that's a good, like that's a good song, and you're like, yeah, even if he's not the
Yeah.
best singer, he's
Yeah,
not like
yeah.
the best thing. I'm like, yeah, the more you listen and just he's such a songwriter, and
Well,
the music too.
And
you
that
know?
was, I mean, he has such a distinctive voice. That was always one of the things that
Yeah.
was stood out about him
Right.
was that it was so distinctive,
Mhm.
And you listen to it and you think that it sounds off
Why-
or
why
whatever.
is he right? Or you go, why,
but, I
right?
mean, a brilliant songwriter
Yeah,
and at the right
that's it.
time and, all those different
It's all
things.
those things. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. So yeah, I could have gone a million different ways with the record things,
Yeah.
I mean, really, honestly, same thing as you. I think that's the beauty of it, right?
Yeah.
And it's time and place, as I said before, of what am I feeling? What mood am I in? What am I doing? I mean, I never really listened to a lot of classical music at the record shops. You can find classical music for
Sure,
days.
absolutely.
And then I went to grad school and I sat at my dining room table in the apartment and did work until 12:30 at night. And I just played classical music
Yeah, yeah.
to just get me through, man. It was like,
Yeah.
that was the thing that would focus me. I'd purposely go put on classical music and listen to it. And I don't know. I mean, of course I could name you like some, composers and shit like that and like musicians,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
like the actual songs from those
Yeah,
classes,
yeah.
I don't know the names of them in the way that we
Yeah,
know
yeah,
songs
yeah,
from like,
yeah.
stuff like that. But
Isn't it funny though? Total tangent, but like
No,
when you
that's all
think
we've done
about
is
those
tangents,
guys and like
like-
writing that music, it's like it's such a different time. I mean, incredibly different time, But to think of what it takes to compose an actual classical is just like astounding,
yeah, like the-
compared to like that. And I mean, the music now is incredible too, but it's just like what it must have taken to, and it's also so many different instruments and pieces, and it's just to me, it's a really incredible art form.
That's the part I'm fascinated with, because we were talking this upstairs saying like there are the people that have done it and there are the people that know some things about it and love it and are passionate about it,
yeah.
right? I'm the know some things about it and passionate person. And I'm in awe of the people that can do it. You know, I currently right now am working with this teaching artist that we're talking about performing arts and politics, and we're incorporating music and drama together. And we've got a classroom full of 8th graders with children's toys and kalimbas.
Yeah.
And we are composing music.
Oh, no kidding.
And he's
Wow,
like
nice.
teaching them how to, you know what I mean? It's like we're all doing it,
Is
right?
this
We're
like
all
the
doing it.
Jimmy Fallon thing. Or
Well,
whatever?
like
You know what that is?
it's a little like of all of it. It's just sort of what are the resources? I don't have
Yeah.
a lot of shit. Like I actually have my kids rattles and my kids crocodile piano thing. Like literally, I'm talking like no joke,
xylophone,
like
yeah.
xylophone things, like
Yeah.
all of the things. Because I was like, where are we gonna put it? We're gonna get rid of it. I'm like, let me take it to the drama room.
Yeah.
Like the kindergarten kids can do rhythm stuff with it, and we can play around with it. And so we're there. We have 8 kalimbas that barely make any sound whatsoever, you know. And you could go on a kalimba journey to Africa. And like he played me, no joke. Like this summer we were doing a techno music workshop together, and he had all this stuff.
Yeah.
And one of the days with the kids in the room, he's like, "All right, I'm gonna show you this YouTube video," and it was some band in Africa that I didn't know at all, and they play various sizes of kalimbas, and it's just this like rhythmic, jammy, you know, like groove it, and I'm like, fuck yeah, dude, you could turn that on and dance to that for hours, talking about jammy shit, you know what I mean? Because the rhythm is bumping, the sounds are there, the groove is, the vibe is there, like all the things. So it's yeah, so to your point, like, how do you compose that? I'm always just like, I'm in fucking awe of it, you know? And I always think that even though I consider myself an artist and I am an artist as an actor, I always think that like being an actor is the, you know, I don't give myself enough credit for the things, but I'm always like, being an actor feels to me like the easiest of all the art forms, you know, like, and yet I'm sure there are people that are just in complete awe. There are people that are in complete awe of actors too. Like I could never fucking do that, you know, I couldn't transform.
Well, don't all musicians want to be actors and all actors want to be musicians?
So there you go. That's it, dude. Like I want to be a musician, really.
Yeah.
Like it's so true. I do. And yeah, I'm good.
So the
like,
myth is true,
yeah,
right?
it is. It is true. I didn't even know that. I didn't know that was a thing. So there you go. It's like, that is so true.
Yep.
Yeah, man, that's it for me. Like that,
Nice.
you know. I know.
Nice.
It's, yeah. I mean, you know, we could talk for fucking hours.
Yeah,
about music.
of course. And we will continue to do so. But,
Hell yeah, man.
I appreciate you taking me on the journey. We're at the point in the show that I got to ask you. So if there's somebody that you can think of alive at the time of this filming that you would love to see on Spin Class, who might that be?
Live at the time of this filming that I'd love to see on Spin Class. Yeah, I'm gonna go with right now, Chicago, where I am, I'm gonna go with like, dude, it would be dope to have like, if you could talk to Common about hip hop in Chicago, I think that'd be fucking awesome.
That would be spectacular.
I think that'd be awesome. If
All
we
right.
somehow could get Common up in here,
Challenge
and you guys
accepted.
could talk of the, you could sit there and talk, and I feel like, you know, it would, that could be pretty damn
Common,
cool, dude.
you heard it here first.
Let's go, dude. I know you're out in LA now, but I mean, you know, come on, man.
He must come back to visit
He comes
the
back to
family.
Shy all
Of
the time,
course.
dude. No doubt.
Of course.
And I feel like he's just the tweener where he people know who he is enough, but he's got his
sure.
humble roots in Chicago.
For sure.
I'm sure he has family that's somewhere in this city that like he could walk in on Thanksgiving Day and sit down at a table and like
Absolutely.
not have people all around him and just be with some people, you know, like his people.
Common, you
So,
can join us for Thanksgiving if you want.
there you go. Federighi's cooking, man. I love it. I know,
There
right?
you go.
So there you go. Common. May not be the
Awesome.
funniest one, but it's like, you know, as
Oh,
far
it
as
doesn't
music,
have to
that
be
works for
funny.
me,
It's cool,
so,
man.
yeah.
We've had requests all over the board.
I'd love to
so
hear. I want to hear the
we'll
other
put
ones.
it on there. That'd be a good one.
All right, cool.
Excellent. All right. Well, thanks for
Good
joining
shit,
us today.
dude. You're the man. You're the man. Thank
All
you
right.
so much, man.
All right.
Fun.
Take care.
Yeah.